This episode of One Foot Flipper is going to have you shivering with Antissa.
One foot flipper.
Patient. Hi, Paige here, the One Foot Flipper. How's it going, everybody? I'm doing okay. I slowed the videos down in recent weeks just to deal with some real life stuff and to figure out exactly what sort of release schedule I really want to be on. Because I tried the full-on, I'm a pro YouTuber of 4 releases per week. And the last few weeks I tried I'm a very part-time YouTuber, 1 release a week, and I'm trying to figure out what my real sweet spot is, which is somewhere in between there. If you're sourcing at the Goodwill outlet, you really need to pay attention to what things weigh. Here's an item I'm going to lose money on. This is a Tonka Big Dump, not exactly in mint condition, but completely restorable. And I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, I'll grab that. Thinking that'll sell for $20, maybe $25, maybe even $30. Problem is, didn't think about the fact it weighs almost 7 pounds, which means I paid $15 for this thing. I'm not going to make any money after eBay fees on this thing at all. I could very possibly lose money on it. Just something to think about. Weigh that stuff at the bins if you're at all worried. All right, let's look at a few sales. Sold The Ancient Art of War at Sea for the Apple II computer, $34 in the box. I had $1 or $2 into this. I sold The End of the World Zombie Apocalypse role-playing game for $56.99. I had $3 in this. I actually got this at a garage sale that had several. There was a stack of role-playing game books, about 8 of them, and I think in a Game Master screen. They wanted $5 each, and I offered $2 each, and I'll take all of them. The husband said yes, and then after a few minutes, the wife decided no, that wasn't good enough, and she was going to call the son to see what he said. So I ended up paying $3 each, but turned out very first one paid the whole lot. I wasn't actually familiar with any of the books in the stack. I was just buying them blindly. I wasn't comping at that sale, but turns out I did just fine. David Bowie, Fame and Fashion's Greatest Hits album, $9.90. A Warhammer Tau lot. This is basically all the leftover pieces from the box of Warhammer Tau figures that I got from Longboard Love a month or 2 ago. This sold for $25. And this is a Dwarven Blood Bowl team. These are Blood Bowl is a game of fantasy football, but not the kind, but for the other kind of nerds, for the Dungeons & Dragons kind of nerds where you play football with little fantasy figures. This sold for $87.26. So, I've been working on some old death pile items that have been just sitting around for years, and I'm amazed how much the prices have changed on some of them in that time. For example, this Liliana Magic card. This was an $80 to $100 card when it got misplaced a few years ago. I actually remember selling this in my very earliest days of selling cards, and I couldn't find it. And I had to cancel the order. Then the other day, I found it in a box of junk cards a couple of days ago. Today, this formerly $100 card is a $13 card. It's still one of the best cards in the game, but they reprinted it like 4 times in the last 4 years, which drove the value down to nearly nothing. Great if you want to buy a set of them now, but not so hot for people like me who acquired this thing when it was pretty pricey. It actually used to be even more than this. I think this peaked at $150 or $200. Meanwhile, this Power Rangers sheet set was selling for $10 shipped 3 to 4 years ago when I acquired it. Basically zero. That's what it cost to ship the thing. So I put it on the birthday present shelf instead of listing it, but it just never got used. It wasn't the right size for my nephew's bed. As my daughter got a little bit older, she stopped being invited to male friends' parties and things like that. And, Julie's going to be 12 this summer, and I just don't see a future when that thing's going to be given out to anyone she knows, because it's just not going to. So I went to list it. This sheet set used to be essentially worthless, selling at the cost of shipping. But now, It's a 20 to 25 plus shipping. I believe I put 25 plus ship on it. I've already had several watchers. This is a timing light. In the old school automotive world, you would use this to perfectly set the timing on that bitchin' 76 Camaro, or even into some things in the 80s. I'm not sure exactly when you stop being able to use this. I think it's when you get a distributorless ignition or fully electronic ignition where you don't use this anymore. Like this would still be useful on my truck if it worked. My truck's an 86. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had something like this for reselling? You know, let us know exactly the right time to sell something. You know, scan this card. It says, oh, yep, you need to sell this in 7 months. Unfortunately, there is no such tool as that. Anybody ever struggle with motivation in your eBay store, your reselling, or whatever it is that you're doing? That's what I've been struggling with lately, because I'm at a point again where where I could make nothing and all of our bills would still get paid every month. We'd still be just fine. But the real life-changing goals are so far out of reach that they're probably not going to happen. You know, certainly I'm probably not going to save up to buy that new house in 3 years, and I'm certainly not taking another mortgage in this environment. My house is paid off. I'm not going to turn around and pay an 8% mortgage signed up for to be going until I'm probably after I'm dead. No, thank you. You know, I guess I could save up and buy my wife a new car, but I wouldn't enjoy that. Not that I'm being greedy about that, but that wouldn't do anything for me. And if I buy myself a new car with how little I drive, that's like purchasing myself a coffin. So I'm not really ready to do that either. I'm just getting whole days sidetracked by small things and not getting as much done as I'd want to. You know, I was pouring a lot more time into YouTube, but wasn't being 100% satisfied with that. And the same thing with the eBay. So hopefully I can find my way. If you got any messages for me, maybe give me some encouragement, that'd be great. Inside this box, it says dental chews, is instead, I'll put a picture up on the screen here, it's a squad of Dust Ninja infiltrators that were painted to an insane quality by my old friend Dad. He passed away a few years ago, but he had been painting miniatures his entire life, and Dust was the last game he ever worked on. And these ninjas were apparently the stuff, and they stopped making Dust when it was still popular for some reason. And this squad of ninjas, you see in the picture there, sold for $215.98. As opposed to this little squad of Miscellaneous Warhammer guys, sold for 20 bucks. Sold one of my few remaining golf clubs, a Titleist fairway wood, for $16.15. Bag of train clips, train track clips, $16.95. Sold 5 albums, 2 different customers. Shot on a music sampler. Things like the music samplers don't sell really well, but if you want a record that you can just put on and listen to the entire record, not be listening to the same artist the entire time, not bad. Diana Ross and Supremes Anthology 3 discs. It's pretty much all the Diana Ross you're going to need. Electric Light Orchestra and Bryan Adams. Canada has apologized for Bryan Adams on several occasions already. A PlayStation game of some sort, Covert Ops in the wrong case, $2.66. I hate video games. Well, love playing them, but I hate games. So I'm not sure I love playing video games anymore either. All I ever play is this card-based video game called Slay the Spire. I just play that over and over again. Or occasionally, once every 2 months, I will play a car racing game. So my supposed gamer status is maybe not real anymore. Martin Briley CD, $11.40. One of my few remaining Warhammer Skaven monk hero type figures, he sold for $15.93. Now, some bits of reseller timing are pretty obvious, particularly when it comes to your broad categories. You know that Christmas sells all year round, but it sells the best and for the most money in the fall. And I found it also tends to sell, vintage Christmas items also tend to sell very well in January. That's because people break their originals when they're putting them away, or they go to replace the originals that they've broken. And thus they'll buy replacements in January when they're putting everything away. And now physical media, it's going to continue its slow decline into oblivion for the foreseeable future. And your working examples of your rare video game consoles, they're like your 3DOs and your Sega Saturns, they're going to continue to appreciate in value, at least as a whole category. 3DOs might go down, Sega Saturns might go down, but you know, your Sega Saturn 3DO, Neo Geo Pocket Color, Sega Dreamcast, they're not all going to go down. As a category, that's probably still going to keep going up. But when it comes to individual items, all sense of timing can completely go out the window. Sure, DVDs are going to drift down in value, but perhaps that formerly worthless DVD, you know, Quigley Down Under, is pulled from all streaming services. And it goes out of production new, the production company no longer selling it, not even print on demand. Because a lot of DVDs are actually sold print on demand now, where you can literally buy it for $5 plain disc, sent right from the manufacturer. But let's say that one becomes completely unavailable everywhere. And Tom Selleck's mustache finally makes it into the Hall of Fame. And then suddenly that DVD could start being worth money. You can't predict that. There's no way to predict that. Because the category as a whole keep going down. Just that one item went up. Or maybe the hottest basketball rookie from last year. You know, the guy who came out his first year. I mean, looking like Jordan, his very first year. And then he gets caught behind the 7-Eleven with a couple of underage girls, gets dropped from the team, goes to prison, and his card goes to zero. You couldn't have predicted that either. Hey, if you've made it this far, it means you probably like my sort of video. Why not hit that subscribe button? It's really kind of what I'm in this for. It means the world to me. It doesn't cost you a thing. Here's a little bit of a bolo you wouldn't have thought. Power Yahtzee, $24.99. Sold in about a week. Got this in the Goodwill bin, so I got about $1 into it. Who would have thought? A couple of giant size Marvel comics I've had since I was a kid. So they're pretty low grade though. Sold as a lot for $16.20. I lotted them together because I knew it was going to be, these are going to be annoying to pack, or we're going to eat a record box if I can get them into a record box. So I'd rather just sell them one time than twice separately. Plus it gives a better value to the customer anyway, because most customers seemingly aren't smart enough to figure out that you can buy multiple items and get a discount on shipping. Morningstar album, $5.02. So I spent the last, I guess 3 days in a row listing more death pile, and I've somehow dug another $1,600 worth of listings out of my death pile. One of which was this binder. Back when I was heavy into cards, I would buy lots of the wacky packages from the 70s, and I was saving up all the puzzles to try to complete them so I could sell the complete puzzles. Never finished any of them, just sold the binder with what's in it, $23.46. It sold in one day. Sold a French Provincial sterling silver serving spoon, pierced 8.5 inch, $45. That's a lot of money. I hate silver, but boy, that's a lot of money for something I don't think I paid anything for. Sold 4 of these little poorly painted Warhammer Eldar Shining Spears. There's 4 of them all together. Took an offer of $20 for that. Sometimes you got some good timing on things, like there used to be a game called Aeronautica Imperialis. It was a Warhammer-based game about aircraft. They only produced it for about a year or two, quickly, and that's it. Everything for that game is huge money now because people are still interested in aircraft in the Warhammer universe. And I sold this little baggie of just ground, these are like ground turrets and things, for $155.20. The opposite of that, I sold this little River Band album for $1.80. That went below my minimum price. Apparently I didn't look. I sent out a blanket 10% off offers and didn't look, because normally I won't send out 10% off offers on things that are already at my minimum $2 price. And I sold a poster. Originally got this from ADH Dave in one of his auctions, The Fox and the Hound, coming soon to VHS. $8.46. Hey, is there anything you can do to exploit timing with your sales? Yeah, there actually is. You can sell items of value while they still have value. I've got this original Demogorgon miniature from the early 1980s. It's worth about $70 right now. It might go from $70 to $500. Or interest in Stranger Things, which this figure appeared as a prop on that show, which shot the value of it up significantly. Interest in Stranger Things might drop off. Interest in Dungeons and Dragons might drop off. And it might go down to $5. I mean, there are already fakes of this thing out there. At least one person is making recasts of these. That means they made a new mold off this and are making a lower quality one that they're selling at a lower price. And that might become very widespread, and suddenly this could go to $5. I would rather sell this right now while it's worth $70 than sit around and hold it and hope that it might have more value in the future. I'm not trying to invest in collectibles. It's not the greatest path. I mean, if you've got an investment mind that is that good that you can successfully invest in collectibles, I think you'd probably just do better investing in traditional markets. But if the item isn't worth anything now, it only has two possible places it can go. It can go in the trash, or it can go up in value. Now, when I end up with something that I feel should have value, but it doesn't, such as those Power Ranger sheets, then I'll put it off to the side, and I'll check it again later. This can often be the case with items that are still being blown out in clearance, and the distributors and stores are still trying to unload. And sometimes it can take a long time. The Terminator collectible card game, right here, from the 90s, it was worthless for decades. I bought large quantity of it at $2 per booster box about 5 to 7 years ago. Basically just as a goof, just for fun. I mean, it was $2 per box, 36 packs of cards per box. And I paid $2 per box. But the distribution chain finally unloaded all of it. And in the last 4 years, it went from that $2 to $3 per booster box to $100 per booster box. I started selling mine off at $20 per box. I increased the price every single time, and I finally ran out of them at $60 per box. Am I sad that I didn't wait till $100? No, because I couldn't have predicted that at all. I just increased the price every time. A large stash of those things could have been found and driven the price back down. I had no idea, so I just got what I could for them when I could get it. Didn't worry about future appreciation. Now, I'm not suggesting just holding on to every bit of junk you find just in case it becomes valuable later. And you certainly don't want to hold broad, worthless categories. You don't want to hang on to 1,000 Beanie Babies, 5,000 DVDs, and 400 copies of every year of Madden for PlayStation on the chance that they're going to go up. Because sure, maybe one of those Beanie Babies will go up. Maybe 8 of those DVDs will go up. None of the Madden games will go up. And then you're just stuck. You wasted all that time. No. Only hold an individual item that doesn't have value that you think should, and only hold it while you have the space that isn't costing you anything. Then you can sit on it for a while. You can always throw it away later if you have to. Hey, thanks a lot for coming out. If you know someone with bad timing, why don't you tell them about this channel? I am so close to my long-term subscriber goal, but not quite there yet. Hey, hope to see you again soon.